Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I'm here to talk about the Fantastic Four news that has released recently. Yesterday, in particular, a little bit came out about Silver Surfer casting. Now this video is actually not going to just be about the Silver Surfer casting, but it's also going to be about the indication, the little tidbits, the things that we think we know that's been reported by multiple sources that the Fantastic Four will indeed take place in an alternate universe. Yes, this will be a situation where the Fantastic Four takes place in the movie takes place in an alternate universe, and this will be an established version of the Fantastic Four. In this version, which makes sense, honestly, if you sit back and think about it, right? Like, if the idea is this version of the Fantastic Four has been around for a while, and, like, hell, there's rumors and people talking out there saying that the movie, like, Sue Storm is going to be already pregnant by the time you even get in the movie. Like, they have been an established team. They've gone on missions. They're this reality. They might even be the only superhero team in their reality. It's hard to really tell. There hasn't been too much, but from the poster that came out with the Human Torch, and from, you know, a lot of sources, basically all these sources are reporting on this, is that the Fantastic Four will indeed take place in an alternate universe. And I feel conflicted about that, but before I get into that, I'm gonna get into the big thing, the headlining thing, the thing that everyone is talking about, which is actress Julia Garner. I think her name is, yeah, Julia Garner from Ozark fame. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do this again. Three-time Emmy Award-winning actress, four-time Emmy-nominated actress Julia Garner from the great show Ozark, which I haven't reviewed because it came out so long ago and I watched it, because there's a lot of shows that I'll watch later and I'm just like, man, it feels like I kind of missed the boat on this show. Ozark is one of those shows. Ozark is amazing, and she's amazing in it. So when I saw her face pop up, I've seen her in other things too, and hell, she's about to be in something coming out soon. I've seen her around in things, and she's just kind of been another one of those young rising stars, which kind of been the MCU's kind of thing as of late, if you haven't really peeped it, is trying to find these young rising stars to build franchises around, or to carry on the MCU into the future, whether it be Florence Pugh or Haley Steinfeld or Tom Holland, you know, like, you know, or like they've really kind of gone out of their way to try to find these up and coming, you know, stars, like people who you feel like you gotta imagine they've been trying to get Timothy Chalamet to come on for something for quite some time. Everybody fan casts him as Harry Osborn. That'd be amazing. But whatever. So the cast, she is not playing Norrin Radd, and if you're a comic book guy, you know Norrin Radd is the Silver Surfer's real name, who he was before he became the Surfer. He was Norrin Radd. In fact, she is playing his wife, Shalla Bal. Is it Bal? I know it's Shalla Bal. I can't say it correctly sometimes. You rarely see her. She is playing the wife that he had. If you go back in the Wayback Machine, if you're a fan of the comics, you would know that Silver Surfer, aka Norrin Radd, the reason he became a surfer was to protect his planet from Galactus. And he had a wife. Some versions he had a wife and kid, but other versions he just had a lover. But either way, it's usually Shalla Bal. And there are versions of the comic where she becomes the Silver Surfer. There are versions of the comic where it's the opposite. There are versions of the comic where there's her weird version where she gets kidnapped by Galactus. Either way, she does become the Silver Surfer in the comic. In fact, they both become the Silver Surfer. And sometimes they're the Silver Surfer at the same time. And I get the feeling, I get the vibe of what they're going to do here. At least I think I know what they're going to do here. It's going to be two Silver Surfers. Like, they're going to introduce it because once they say this is in another universe, alternate reality, then it becomes like, okay, so is there a surfer in another reality? That's the question. Or if there isn't a surfer in another reality, is it going to be one of those stories? Which they can easily tell this story. Now, all disclosure, there is absolutely nothing about the Silver Surfer that needs him to actually be a man. I say this all the time, and I had arguments with this all the time. There are very few comic book characters where it is imperative that they be a certain color, that they be a certain race, that there be a certain, you know, sex. Oh, you know, the only reason that, like, characters female and characters of color in comics and, you know, traditional superhero comics have to be that color. You know, because you always get the moron who's like, why can't I have a white panther? Or why can't I have a male Storm? It doesn't make any sense, because when they were writing those characters, it was so rare to have a character that wasn't a white guy, that when the artists and writers wrote the characters, they wrote them in context of them being a black man or an Asian man or a black woman or an Asian woman. Like, Storm is written like a black woman. Like, she is written in the context of her being a black woman. And just like Black Panther, where it takes place. Whereas so many of the white male characters, which Norrin Radd's a fucking alien, so he's not a white guy anyways, he's just a man. But regardless, so many of those characters are written so loosely, because they are so surface level, that there's nothing about them. And I've said it before, I've listed my characters that I'm like, that character has to be a white character or it doesn't make any sense. Spider-Man has to be white. Peter Parker has to be white, because then it makes Miles not make any sense. Because then it's like, it takes all the out of Miles. Tony Stark has to be white, because it's hard to believe that a minority guy would have been in minority, would have had a fucking father during World War II as the #1 guy for America. No one's believing that. It was hard for black people had to kill themselves for America back in the day. You think they got a black guy running the fucking, you know, the biggest, you know, weapons industry in the world? No. Like, Captain America has to be white, because it just, once again, it changes the context of the entirety of his story, because it takes place in World War II. Like, there are characters in comics. I think Natasha Romanoff has to be white because of all the things with her. Bucky has to be white. Like, there are like I say, there are characters who I do agree. I'm like, that character has to be a white male, or it doesn't make any fucking sense in the story. It is written in a way, it is written in a time period, or in the context of the story, it just changes the story too much. Norrin Radd being a man or a woman doesn't matter. As long as, because the key to Silver Surfer is regret, remorse, sadness, deep contemplating, and you have to be able to give because he has this interesting vibe he gives off. Like, when the Surfer shows up, it usually means something bad's about to happen. It means Thanos got the Infinity Gauntlet, Galactus is about to chomp on the planet, something about to happen. Usually. If you see fucking Silver Surfer, bad things are about to happen. So, and he has this stoicness to him, this stillness to him, and to the point where when you do see him get emotional, it's shocking. There's a stillness to him. There's a vision-like quality to the Silver Surfer, often. So you just need an actor who can really get across the conflicting of emotions, of not wanting to, like, of emotions, but the conflicting of emotions. I don't know how you just describe how the Surfer is, but as long as you get an actor who can capture that kind of vibe, an actor who can capture the stillness, the calmness, the elegance of the Silver Surfer, it can be a man or a fucking woman, honestly. It doesn't really fucking matter, because none of that ever mattered. It's because all the Surfer really does, you know, unless it's a big story arc going down, really what he does is he travels the galaxy saving lives and doing all kinds of things because he feels like shit for letting Galactus eat all these planets. So, you know, Surfer's not like the most fucking... there's nothing about him that makes him have to be... There's nothing about the Surfer that makes him have to be a man. That being said, I do think you're going to get Norrin Radd. You're going to get Norrin Radd at a certain point. They're probably going to set him up at like... How they're probably going to do it is she's going to think he's dead, and he's going to think she's dead. And it's going to be like this thing about them finding each other. So that's going to be interesting, because one of the things about the Silver Surfer that's always kind of been a part of the character is his loneliness. Is like, you know, there's so many comic book stills of him just being in space and just floating in space, just contemplating shit. And just like, he's just a sad guy. He's a sad guy. So a part of me doesn't even want there to be another Surfer, because I'm like, well, then he's going to be happy. And you know, Surfer's usually a sad motherfucking dude. He's usually the most interesting when he's sad. I don't want to be an asshole here, but he's the most interesting when he's sad. But I digress. I think that's a great actress. I loved her in Ozark. she's a multi-award winning actress, so anyhow, we'll see how that goes. Now the alternate reality thing, I don't know about. That one is a little, because it's just not necessary. Like, I mean, I get it. Some people think it's necessary because they're like, oh, the Fantastic Four have to be famous and shit. I'm like, I don't think that's true. I don't think the Fantastic Four have to be famous. Like, don't get me wrong, man, that's a big part of their characters, but it ain't nothing to be like I just thought it was supposed to be easy to just have them be in the MCU. Just say, in the 60s, there was this group, they did a experiment for S.H.I.E.L.D., the shit went wrong, they disappeared, and now they reappeared in today. But having it be in an alternate reality causes some issues, really. A lot of issues, to be exact. Like, now, granted, there's all this talk about Secret Wars being a soft reboot of a sense, and I'm terrified of that word. I heard soft reboot and I shit my pants. Because I am like, what do you mean by that? Do you mean that you're just gonna, like, fold in the X-Men and just be like, are you rewriting history? Are you making it so that everything we have seen in the last, what, 15 years, damn near 15 years of the MCU, are you saying like all this shit, in-game, all these things just didn't happen? Like we're going to fold it in and create a new reality where different events happened? Because that doesn't sound like a good idea to me. Now, I know it's hard to work the X-Men in, but the Fantastic Four, to me, they don't not have to be from an alternate universe. Now, I get it. They're like, they want them to be fully fledged. They don't want to have to explain where they have been. And this is a nice little shortcut to not... Because right now the MCU has so... Like, they've kind of pulled the going back in time and this thing's already existed the entire time thing. They've pulled that card quite a few times now. And every time they do it, they're kind of beholden to what they said happened in the past. Every time they go back in the past and say this happened in the past or this happened in the past, they have to sort of explain why a character didn't do something. You know, when they showed the 10 Rings and was like, oh yeah, this Mandarin dude's been around the whole time. They have to explain like why he didn't get involved in Endgame, or when a character shows up, why he didn't get involved in Endgame, or why this character didn't get involved. They have to keep like going back and explaining that kind of shit. So I do understand the temptation of just easily writing it off with, they're from another universe. But it feels very unnecessary. It was nothing for them. Like, it feels unnecessary, and also it makes me just feel like, okay, like this. So if how you gonna, like, why wouldn't they want to just go back to their own universe? But then I guess that would explain the whole new timeline of them merging together thing. But I don't like that. I don't like the idea of that. It just sounds awful. But this might be the first time I'm like, I don't know about that MCU. This whole fucking merging timelines and creating a alternate world. Like, I'm like, dude, like, it was pretty easy to just have them be from our reality. Now, the X-Men are a harder thing. The X-Men I can almost understand, because I'm like, that's a harder sell. But the Fantastic Four was so easy to just have be in the 60s. But I guess that means the entire movie is going to be in the 60s. This is not going to be a situation, at least from what I'm seeing, this is not going to be a situation where the Fantastic Four are like, what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's like, it takes place in the 60s for like the first 30 minutes of the movie, and then bam, it's in our world, and for the rest of the movie, it's in our now timeline as they adjust. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be a fish out of water story. It's going to take place in the 60s, and like we're hearing rumors about Galactus, so that could be it. And at first, that sounds a little extreme for Galactus to be in the first movie, but in the context of the idea of this being an established team that's already done a lot of fighting and shit, and like, so for them, this is like what this has been leading up to. For us, we're just coming in on the tail end of their adventures. But, I don't know. Hopefully, you know, they figure out what they're going to do here. I got no problem with the Silver Surfer stuff. If she ends up being the permanent Silver Surfer, I have no problem with it. But if she ends up being just one of the two Silver Surfers, I have no problem with it. Either way, I'm going to be fine because that's a great actress, and it's an interesting character they're going with here. They're probably, like, it just depends on how they're going to write her. Everything depends on how you write people and whatnot. It's more of that alternate reality thing that I'm kind of mixed on, and I'm very, very against this whole idea of a soft reboot, like, thing. Because I'm just like, well, does that mean, like, everything that happened just doesn't matter anymore? Does that mean Sam Wilson is not Captain America anymore? Does that mean, like what Black Widow's just gonna come back from, they're gonna cast new Black Widow. Like what is this what do you mean a soft reboot? Like, is this just is this just an excuse to merge these characters in without having to explain where they came from? Like, or is there a reason behind it? Like, that's the only thing I'm hung up about. But either way, I'm happy about this news. Or not happy about. I'm mixed about all of this news. The Silver Surfer news, I'm actually kind of excited about. I'm curious to see their approach to the Surfer. Because, I mean, they already did Surfer on the big screen. And it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the greatest either. But anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.